Good morning, everyone. We're not so many, but I think those who are here today away from the main conference hall will be rewarded for attending this panel. Thank you all for being here. Last year, we couldn't have imagined that we would have such a panel, I think. Things are moving so fast. We are going to discuss how generative AI is affecting business today. And last year, we could imagine something like chat bots, etc. And things have run at unprecedented speed, I think, since then. I think we will start right away to have a very interesting discussion. I will start giving the floor to François. I can remember we had a coffee last year.
A great glass of wine last year.
Was it a wine? I thought it was coffee. And we were just looking at ITEA with a perfect view. Honestly, François, I wouldn't imagine that things would have run that fast in that space. And I think the same for you. For those of you who don't know François, although you have read the program, I think, we're really grateful you are here to bring us this perspective from BCG and from what you see around the world. So.
No, I think that your question about would I have thought that it would be that fast, I don't know, but what I can tell is that we are just at the beginning of it. We had LLMs, we have multimodality, we'll have autonomous agents. Sam Altman the other day said that GPT-3 was about 5-minute task. GPT-4, 50 minutes, and now, as we are preparing for GPT-5 this year, probably released this year, about 5-hour tasks. It shows that we are entering here, and in a business audience, I would like to quote the famous capitalist Leon Trotsky, we are entering a permanent revolution era. And here, this is what is critical for us as business leaders, which is to understand that, but to understand as well that we should not just look at the technology. What is important is the human and AI collaboration, at least for a while, because I feel that we are close to an area of, or a period of disillusionment that is not related to the technology. The technology can work very well, but a disillusionment because we have difficulties to understand the collaboration between human and AI. I'm working on a series of experiments, and there we were really able to see that, for instance, we've been working on brainstorming and how to have AI, Gen AI as a team member and so on. And what we can see is that depending on the context of your company and what you're looking for, are you looking for a large number of good enough ideas? Are you trying to get the best ideas? Basically, the way to make human and AI collaborate becomes very different. So we need to understand that. We are just scratching the surface. It will take time. And I'm old enough to remember the years of the internet era. We had the class of '95 with Yahoo, Amazon, and so on. But in 1999, the website of the New York Times was still the PDF version of the print. So I think that we need to understand that. We need to see how to unlock the business opportunity. And here, at the moment, people unfortunately believe that as long as they provide whatever the Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever, basically people will use it. That's not true. In a business context, you need to help people understand how it can improve their workflow. And on top of it, so it's a lot of change management. You need to inform, you need to engage, you need to train your people if you want them to use it. At the moment, one of the main dangers or threat for Microsoft at the moment is what is the usage rate of the Microsoft Copilot licenses. It's in their stock, but it might not be close to what people do really on the field. And so I think that what is important for us as well is to make sure that we are not asking ourselves, what can I do with GenAI, but how can GenAI support me in solving a business question? And these business questions are twofold. On one hand, either it's to reshape, it's a good old re-engineering, but this time powered by GenAI, and we have plenty of candidates. We have marketing, customer service, code development, and so on. But here, as leaders, we will have to be quite bold, because we will have to redefine our processes really from end to end, with some parts of the task that will be reduced by 60 or 80%, so a massive change. But what is more important moving forward is really to try to invent, can we, instead of just trying to optimize what we currently do, what can we really develop that will be new? And there are plenty of opportunities. I participated to the development of a virtual beauty assistant for L'Oreal that was presented at the CES in Las Vegas earlier this year. It was a V1 and so on, but it is really important to try to see how we can unleash the power of this technology. But as I said, it will take time. Nevertheless, you need to embark on it. Why? You need to embark because the rate of learning on how to unleash the power of these technologies will probably become the source of competitive advantage for companies. And this is what we already see. The companies that are able to leverage GenAI the best are the ones that were already well established or more mature in terms of traditional AI. So I think that this is what we need to have in mind. We need to embark, we need to, because the clock speed of these technologies is much faster than the clock speed of the adoption of this of companies. So we need to move away. And maybe just one last point, I had a discussion last week with Arthur Mensch, who is leading Mistral. And he was telling us that basically he believed that US companies in adoption are, let's say, 1 year ahead of European companies, but 1 year ahead in an industry that is 18 months old might be a lot.
Good point, very good point. And I think you started by touching technology issues because we still have things to consider in terms of technology when we talk about AI. But when we're trying to think practically what it means for companies, you mentioned one that it affects operations, processes internally, how to become more efficient. And then also new interfaces with the customer, new applications. And I think this is what we are trying to understand now, how to apply it. And what are the considerations? Stelios, do you want to continue this discussion of what is practically engaging
Sure.
AI?
Hi, probably I would also have a small presentation in order to follow my thoughts. I'm Stelios Eliakis. I'm the CEO and founder of SLID. SLID is the biggest 360 e-business agency. We have a team of more than 150 people and working with companies and help them to grow using technology, marketing, data. Oh, okay. Okay, let's discuss. So, imagine that we are a service company and there is a paradox in our industry. The digital space is growing a lot. On the other hand, it's very difficult to find the right people. So in order to scale, you have to find solutions that will help us to be more efficient. So I believe, so imagine that we have clients that we help them at the moment to grow. So growing also has some performance and optimization issues. And what we have learned the last year, because it's something new for all of us, is that there are some myths that we have to bust. For example, the first one is that if you are an expert in technology, doesn't mean that you can adapt very quickly and effectively the AI. And also exactly the opposite, that if you are not very familiar with technology as an organization, doesn't mean that you cannot do it.
That's opposite to what?
Yes, exactly. That's why I try to explain it more. People and companies, at least from our experience in Greece, they're afraid of AI or touching the AI because they believe that it's something too complicated for them. They believe that they should create inside the science part. The truth is that they have to change the way that they're working. So it's not the case of knowledge, but the case of adaptation and changing things in a way that you are working. So in SLID, we have 3 different pillars. The first one was to train and try as a company to adapt and utilize the AI from ourselves. The second one is to create more efficiency inside in our organization, and after to create products and services, actually to use scientific products and create a layer on top in order to provide it to our clients. So, for example, a very simple case, and my scope today is to show, let's say, how easy is to do it, or to do your first steps, and not thinking and designing a lot. Okay, so we have created a bot using API, so we haven't created the proprietary technology behind it, but we have created something that saved for us many hours of time, especially in administrative tasks. So at this point, someone who can ask which is the last version of our company overview, or which is the telephone number of an employee, but also have created 22 different personas inside the bot, because our CFO is a totally different persona for our marketeer in order to ask and reply in different things. Also, we have a production studio, but now we don't need, for example, very expensive equipment, because we use less expensive hardware, but using AI, we can optimize the actual outcome, so it's more efficient to do it. So the most important of whatever we have done today, I think, is a case from someone who is not a developer. You know, people that asks projects from developers have a very similar problem. The pipeline is huge. So everyone asks very gently from the development team to deliver their project and be a priority. So we had someone from our marketing team that he's not a developer. He couldn't wait more. So he created by himself a very, very, very simple software, but he did it without the help of our development team. So for us, the last year, we saw that using AI, we reduced approximately 20% from the total administrative tasks that we had to be done by human beings, let's say. And I believe that the most important decision that helped us to adapt AI was not, for example, to use the best part of the technology, but we hired a dedicated, let's say, prompt engineer, or someone who is, his KPI is the adoption of AI inside the organization, and help the team and our people to use it effectively.
Stelios, you gave us an excellent example of very practical aspect of how AI can really support efficiency inside an organization. And I suppose this is really critical for a marketing agency like SLID with 200 people. Saving time can really have an impact on the bottom line results of the company. And I think we will see that a lot more happening. And it's what François said, the first main impact, let's say, of AI is on making efficient operations. I think we are getting into an era where we've been talking the last 2-3 years about digital transformation, and all these CEOs have digital transformation in their agenda. And I think what we experience now is AI transformation. But we just haven't realized it yet. It's only happening now. That's why François said, last year I wouldn't have imagined we would be here already today. And having seen a practical example from Stelios about how operations are affected, I pass the floor to Alexandros to see how the interface with the customer, how new applications come up that we haven't imagined, a lot beyond the chat that we are all used to, as I said now. Alexandros has actually, I'm really proud. He once used to be a student of us at the Department of Management, Science and Technology at Athens University of Economics and Business. And then he followed a great career. He did his PhD at Imperial College. They've done amazing work. He will present in a while. Apologies for raising the bar high, Alexander. And they are working on a spin-off concept. At the same time, he's working in Google, again, with amazing technologies. Alexandre, the floor is yours. You are here with your capacity as researcher at Imperial College, right?
Yes, thank you very much. What I will show you today is from my experience as a researcher at Imperial College London, but also over the years, the experience I had as a practitioner, a researcher in the field, both in startups and in lead tech corporations. Could I have the clicker, please?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. So, a lot of focus on generative AI goes mostly to text generation around ChatGPT from OpenAI and the similar products from Google Gemini or from Twitter Grok. But there is an extremely big potential in different modalities in generative AI, starting from image generation, where you can just type a text and generate images to help you prototype or create nice visuals, to also audio generation, where you can narrate audio with specific voice and style that you want. And also video generation, where you can just type a text and then you can describe a video which gets generated for you, which you can use for promotional material, for short films and so on. And they lead to very exciting and new practical applications. The first thing is text to audio. I think there is a huge potential there. For example, you can record a clip of your voice and then you can clone that, so you can just have big corpus of text and just have this automatically narrated by you or by someone else, saving you a lot of time when you have to produce long voiceovers of text. And following that, we can have automated podcasts so that you can have old blog posts that are very interesting and take a long time to read, or discussions from interviews and so on that can be automatically narrated with natural voices, and even following the voices of the people that wrote or discussed these things, automatically to your ear, sounding very nice. And another thing is translation, where you can have a voice, for example, in English in a discussion. You can transcribe this to text, translate it, and then voice it with the same person in Spanish or any other language, for example. And this is fully automatic. And it opens a possibility in a lot of new products. Another thing is image generation. I have many architects friends who use Midjourney, for example, to generate quick examples of buildings that they're trying to do, so they can have a quick look without waiting long for rendering. There's also a big potential in marketing, where you can quickly prototype with ideas that you want to create for material, but also in artist prototyping, where you create in different sorts of visual materials. There's also a big potential in 3D asset generation. For example, you can describe with text or an image that you want some 3D assets for gaming and then have them in seconds, or give them as materials where 3D designers can work on saving hours and hours of time going to something from scratch, which also has applications in manufacturing and 3D printing.
Hey, I'm Natalie, one
And
of
avatars.
Synthesia's stock AI avatars. I'm looking forward to helping you create videos.
where it can be used for automated support, but also for educational materials where you can just have, we don't have to have someone narrate over and over and over on video some educational materials for companies, but you can have an avatar recorded on that person that can generate automatically and very quickly and cheap hours and hours of content. And there's also a big opportunity there for ads and marketing as well. And even more, this is a video generated fully from generative AI from OpenAI Sora at this level of quality and resolution. So the potential is getting bigger and bigger every couple of months. Now, moving on to things that we did at Imperial College. One example is, for example, if you type handsome man on the beach, you can get an image like the one on the left, and then you can use generative AI to actually control from text the way that they talk.
Generative AI models take a vast amount of content from across the internet and then use the information they are trained on to make predictions and create an output for the prompt you input. These predictions are based off the data the models are fed, but there are no guarantees the
And also you can use similar models to very easily edit content that you have already produced. So if you have some promotional material and you want to change the expression or the pose of a person, you can very easily do it with intuitive control at this moment without having to go back to reshooting the material or having to rely on an artist and have to put lots of manual work to do that. And moving on to 3D human generative AI, you can go, for example, having a picture of Elon Musk, to having a directly usable 3D asset of a whole body for game engines. So you can put it either in quickly prototyping in games or using the assets as is. For example, if you want to put yourself in a game like FIFA and then play as your own players or someone that you admire. And these are assets that generative AI can very quickly generate in less than a minute, and then they're fully usable by game engines. And another question is that how do you train all of these models? Training data, especially with humans, is very expensive and sensitive. So we can use generative AI to create actually synthetic training data that are used for training models. And we can actually use fully synthetic humans that do not have any, they do not exist and they do not have any personal information. So we're more free and it's more ethical to use them to train different models. And they also come with pixel perfect labels that train more accurate models as well at the same time. And finally, one of recent works that we can also have generative foundation models that are not conditioned on text or images, but are directly conditioned on humans. So for example, you can have a picture of a human that can generate millions and millions of more that are very controllable, and then used to generate also 3D assets and so on, and then the potential is infinite from there. And just to say a bit about the future outlook of this, we've seen a lot of these things in movies from the past, for example, in here with immersive AI assistants, or with immersive experiences in VR, and also with cloning voice and appearance of people. I want to say that the AI revolution that we have here is making a huge boom and a transformation in companies as we've seen, but it's very important to keep in mind that there is a lot of ethical and sustainability concerns, and that we need to stay in control of that. Thank you very much.
Alexander, I don't have to say anything. You paved the floor for giving the floor to Theodoros Evgeniou, because you mentioned all the ethical considerations. I think from what you presented, we can think many more applications that can really transform business today. Although I think the main discussion now is about fake news, fake information, etc. This is the negative aspect of it, a very negative aspect of it. Positive aspects could have to do with efficiency or new interfaces with the customer. We need to consider that. But I think Theodoros Evgeniou can discuss that a lot more. Theodoros is professor at INSEAD. I dare to say that he's among the 5 people globally, maybe, that he can talk about this topic, having a global perspective, not just about ethics and regulatory aspects of that, but also with his capacity as a founder of Tremau, which is a company in that sector that is really revolutionizing the space, in my view. Theodoros, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katerina, for setting up expectations, right? First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with very good friends, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those. Let me start from what François said and double down on that we are at the very beginning. And I'll try to be a bit more bold, even bolder than that, taking maybe centuries-long perspective. I think what we stumbled upon, and I use the word stumbled intentionally because that's exactly what happened, by some engineers putting lots of data and high compute on some models that they scaled, and they're realizing, oh my God, this works well a few years back. So we stumbled on this maybe 10 years ago when deep learning became kind of the de facto machine learning methodology. And then later on with the technology behind large language models today, the transformers as they're called, I think this stumbling was arguably one of the biggest discoveries in history. I really believe so. And just to support this bold statement, let me just say that it's the first time that we understood that with simple mathematical operations, additions, multiplications of matrices, of vectors, of tables, that represent things like language, human language. We would have never imagined this even 5 years ago. With simple mathematical operations, we can generate human-type language. We can capture human-type language. This is something that I think if we had said this to people 5 years ago, 10 years ago, let alone 3,000 years ago here in ancient Greece, they would think we are crazy. So we've gone a long way from the pre-ancient Greek times of mysticism, where we thought we had gods and spirits that would make us do things, to today, where we realize that it's all about calculations, whether of numbers in a computer or of neurons in the brain, of course. And that's a major, major historic proportion step. We just stumbled on this, and that's why it's day one. And we still don't know how these things work. We don't know how to control them. Imagine once we understand what they do and how to control them, what we can do with them. We are at the very, very beginning, and it's only a few years old. This is very important to realize, the historic proportions of the scientific, if I may say, discovery we stumbled upon a few years ago. Now, going back to more practical things, very much agree with what we've said before, which is, of course, as the saying goes, the biggest challenge in technology innovation, the biggest challenge in technology change is change of human behaviors. That was always the case during the Industrial Revolution, during the Internet change, and it's still the case. So we have to remember this. This is the #1 law of technology and societal change, let's say, or organizational change. Human change, human behavior change. That's the second thing. Third thing, the democratization of AI that is happening today, and we saw a lot of examples, implies that there will be a lot more people playing with it. Everybody, people in the basements, anywhere around the world will be playing. The most powerful AI models on the planet are available to anybody on the planet through an API call. Think about this. Through an API call, 2 lines of code, and you have access to the most powerful AI and technology models humanity ever saw. Imagine what this will bring. Having said this, going from an API call to a very powerful model, which we call it foundation models these days, as we saw, to a product or to an integration in a company is not that trivial. The value, the business value, is not anymore on the AI itself, because that's somebody else developed for us. The value is on the integration of the system, of the API call to the overall workflow, as François said, integrated with the technologies infrastructure of the company, with the workflows and processes, business processes, and eventually with the change of the business processes, the training of the people, the change of the culture at the high end of the success story. So it's integration that's difficult. And by the way, integration combines the large language models and generative AI, the traditional AI, if I may call it, which is a funny term, or let's call it predictive AI, that predicts whether somebody will default or not, or whether somebody will like the text generated by a large language model or not. I'll come to this later. So you integrate generative AI, predictive AI, digital wires and databases and systems, processes, and of course, human behavior. You have to integrate all of those. And how you balance generative AI with other technologies is a decision point. For example, very often you may want to have generative AI only at the interface level and everything behind be basically processes which are hardwired or with some AI, non-generative AI, in order to control what's happening. And the generative AI is coming at the very end just to make it more as an interface, as a human-friendly interface, in which case you have more control. In other cases, you may want to have generative AI all along. It can be more creative. In all cases, and I will double down again on what François said before, on the second point. It's about human and AI, and basically, it's not about human and AI anymore, it's about humans and AI is. That's the next step. We are working on a project, fascinating project I find, with some collaborators from Athens University of Economics and Business and from University of Cyprus, on developing methodologies and studying their effect, generative AI methodologies, large language model methodologies, engineering, workflows, and studying their effects on community management. For example, imagine having a community debating or a group discussing, and there are lots of LLMs around monitoring what people say, and each of them having their own personality. Some of them, their personality is coded so that they polarize the discussion. Some of them, the personality is coded so that they converge the discussion. Some of them give innovative ideas, keeping track of what was said before and was dropping from the discussion and reminding everybody, you talked about this before, how come you forgot about this? So you can imagine this at small scale with people talking, even two of them, all the way to large scale with voters voting. Now, let me say two more points, and I'll stop here because I see the time ticking. One of the biggest risks we are facing is the impact of these AI systems on the way we understand the world, and therefore the way we decide. And the decisions can be anything as simple as what car do I buy, from anything as complex on what policy do I support and what people do I vote for, and what do I think is the geopolitical setting, if you like. The last point I'll make, and it goes back to Tremau that Katerina mentioned, the company that we started with some INSEAD alums. Our goal in the company, and I think it's one of the biggest problems we have to solve collectively, is how to develop processes, principles, and practices to continuously monitor what the AIs are doing and continuously give feedback to them so they continuously improve and adjust to our needs. When it comes to content, this is called content moderation, but in general, it's about us managing the AI systems to guide them towards directions we like.
Theodoros, you open up many topics, convincing us that next year's conference will have this topic in the central agenda because it affects all aspects of life, and with the speed that we've seen things evolving, we can't even imagine what will be the discussion next year. François, I would like to go around for one comment by each one of us, but having also a question for you, because with your role as managing partner at the Boston Consulting Group, you have the opportunity to see companies around the world, and you bring in this room, this perspective. So you can, of course, make any comment you would like, but if you could also make kind of comparison what you see globally, that would be very helpful.
So what I see globally, as I said, is at the moment, I believe that in Europe we are becoming becoming underdeveloping countries. So it's really critical to hurry up. This is, and the last comment, which is a bit more not philosophical, but very important, is we need to embark because it is a long journey. I was discussing with Professor Sinanaral from MIT, and I was telling him, oh, it's like the fourth industrial revolution or whatever. He told me, no, it's the third revolution. We had agriculture, industry, and now we have AI. So it's to come back to what you were saying, Theos, on the fact that it is a big, big, big event.
Oh, no, Stelios, with this round. No, a comment by you.
Actually, it is very important to understand that everything is changing and nothing will stay the same. So I truly believe that we have, as companies and as human beings, to be more flexible, not too afraid the evolution, because we have seen probably not exactly the same things, but more or less a technological evolution the last 100 years is huge. And we have to adapt to a new reality.
I have a question for you, very quick. Do you see this year already, 2024, 2025, you as lead, using AI just internally as you presented, or using it also to support your, or introducing it to your customers?
Actually, truly speaking, we are trying to adapt it internally.
Okay.
But it is important to imagine the speed that I keep some notes from the other participants now, being alerted that we are not moving fast.
Okay, maybe you need to reconsider that. Alexandros, can you see a service coming out of what you presented that could be addressed to the industry?
I can see tens and tens of services. I want to touch upon that it's very critical that we manage to translate the huge technological progress that is happening right now around generative AI to actual value for businesses. Because people who actually develop this usually don't have a very close contact with what is needed. And I think there is a great potential in that direction.
That's your task. Theodoros, you talked a lot before, so now you have 30 seconds for a final comment.
I'll be very brief. The one thing to keep in mind and maybe worry about, the one thing to keep in mind and maybe worry about, and relates to what François said before, is that potentially this technology is such that, for various reasons, leaders continuously increase the gap from followers. So if you don't hurry up, the gap will simply become increasingly bigger for a number of reasons. This is just a wake-up call potentially.
Theodoros, with this comment, I'm really happy I convinced 3 young guys down there to stay and attend this session, because I think they understand what power they have in their hands with all that is happening now. And we need to close the gap and democratize rather than increase it. Thank you all for attending the session.